It's time to find my pick of the week for the week of July 29th, 2026. Welcome back to the channel, guys. It is Panel by Panel Comics. If you are new here, I do nearly daily comic book content all throughout the week with new comic book day vlogs, buyers, sells, or buyer passes now. Panel by Panel comic reviews, my top 10 comics, and today is my Panel by Panel comic review. I'm going to give you my pick of the week for both Marvel, DC, and independent comic book publishers, and then have my overall #1 pick of the week. Starting now with Marvel, we have 3 total books to talk about. Coming in at third, we have Bishop, issue #2. Now, this might catch a bit of y'all by surprise, but personally, this series, it just had some cop-outs that weren't for me. Saladin Ahmed does the writing. The art was beautiful in this issue. The artists for this title are Mario Santoro and Reese Hannigan. I did think the art really outshined the writing ability of Saladin Ahmed, but it continues right where it left off with Bishop and his sister going against this woman that's going after them by the name of Flamequake, and Bishop's sister's name is Shard. I'm not the biggest Bishop guy, I'm not the biggest X-Men guy, period, but it was all right. It was good constant action. Bishop kind of slowly revealing what he's going through right now as he's been trapped in the present timeline where his sister Shard is in the future. And he knows how she's going to die in the future, and he's trying not to ruin the timeline or spoil the timeline. And while they're going through it, they are able to escape a little bit from Flamequake, able to take her down, but then a new prospect comes in and starts to rile things up again, and another fight starts with Bishop and Shard, and it looks like Shard might reach her end earlier on than Bishop would have thought, excuse me. The art was really good though. I just couldn't get too deep into the story. Just feels like it's constant fight against fights because the people in the future, the Brotherhood of the Future, think that if they kill Bishop, everything will be fine. But Shard thinks if they keep Bishop alive, then everything will be fine in the future. It's just basically kill one or kill the other. And to me, it's not that entertaining. The art was really good, but Bishop for me, I'm going to drop this series. I can see where some people might love that issue, but for me, it is going to be a C, and it comes in at third place. Coming in at second for Marvel, we have What If Spider-Man, What If Kraven Survived His Last Hunt. Now, this book was all right, written by J.M. DeMatteis, and it follows Kraven and how he survived his last hunt against Spider-Man. And it was solid. It was a nice little callback, and you see what happened to Peter, how he basically got put into a paralysis state and got put underground and wasn't able to come back up under his own will until the Venom symbiote attached back to Peter Parker. But then we see Vermin come and Kraven just killing these people to essentially distract himself from what he did to Peter Parker, because he realized that he killed a person and not a monster spider, because his whole identity is he wants to kill these monster animals to be his awards, but he doesn't actually want to kill people, at least it appears in this. And when he does that, he starts going on a rampage, killing the Vermin character, who he then saw was a person, going after Goblin, Scorpion, Kingpin, all these different people, and killing them because he thinks that they're all monsters. Meanwhile, Peter Parker gets the symbiote attached to him, and the rage becomes so mighty that he really does become Venom. And that was a pretty interesting concept, Peter Parker becoming Venom, and whenever he gets close to killing Kraven potentially, he tells this Venom symbiote to stop, don't kill him. That's not what he does. He won't let him steal his life. Instead, Kraven takes the Venom symbiote and they start getting along for like 2 seconds, and without knowing it, the Venom symbiote traps himself inside Kraven's body because he takes these herbs that have dark enchantments to him, and they kill both himself and the Venom symbiotes. But you think that might be it for Kraven, but it looks like somebody's going to dig up his grave. This was really solid, nothing too crazy here. I appreciated getting to read some more of the Kraven character, as well as what if Spider-Man was different and he became a little bit enraged a little. Who knows? But this was really good. A solid B what if story for me. Not my top pick for Marvel though. My top pick instead goes to Jessica Jones Alias Red Band issue. This is issue number 5, the conclusion to this series. So we see what happens as Jessica Jones continues the trial, as she's getting grilled by this government official who is basically trying to get both her in jail while also getting Luke Cage in a bunch of trouble. So she then goes, we go back in time where Typhoid Mary and Jessica Jones are debating on their tactics and what's going on with the postcard guy, Mephisto, all these different people. But then they find these aliens in the backside of wherever they were trying to go. And there's a lot of action going on with Jessica Jones and Typhoid Mary. They both have this heart-to-heart where Typhoid Mary's trying to tell Jessica Jones that she loves her and say it back to her. Jessica Jones does, and Typhoid Mary kind of makes a little bit fun of her for saying that she loves her. But then you see Mephisto slowly but surely trying to make his way to the Earth realm, and he tells them that it's too late, but they start slicing and dicing all these monsters and aliens coming out of Mephisto, and it looks really good. I will say the art in this series was really good. Sam Humphries, the writer, did a really good job as well as writing Jessica Jones. But Mephisto tries to convince Jessica to become his queen whenever he inevitably takes over, and she of course says no, blows him up, and that's why they are here 1 month later at this trial, because they're still trying to find who is the man without a smile or who's the man without a face. I can't remember what it really went down to. But anyways, they end up just saying, no, you're good to go, you're free, after they took a little recess after Jessica was talking about some different situation about where they didn't find who Mephisto was, the man with the boundless smile. So that kind of leaves Jessica Jones to think, oh wait, actually I might know who the man with the boundless smile is. It's this person, the guy, the government official that was trying to come after me, trying to put me in jail and do all these terrible things. And then you get to see somebody goes to Councilman Maxwell's office, and something really bad happens to Councilman Maxwell. To find out what happened to him, you're gonna have to read this book, and then this is going to continue into Avengers issue 1, the new series coming out by Chip Zdarsky. This was really good. A lot of heart in this series with Jessica Jones, a lot of humor with Typhoid Mary, a lot of just differing opinions as well. And this was a really, really good book. That's why it's my top pick for Marvel, and it gets an A- for me. But will it be my pick of the week? Gonna have to find out and see if DC or Image or independent publishers take over from it. Next, we head over to DC Comics, and what else to start with than DC's annual 2026 with Batman and Lobo. This was a really fun little 2-story issue. It started us off with the main man, Lobo, coming in and trying to kill Batman because he's getting paid by this alien society that thinks that Batman killed their president. So Lobo goes to him and tells him, hey, there is a batarang that was left in the heart of the president, but obviously Batman wouldn't have done this. So he throws this thing into Lobo's throat, makes him swallow it, and he tells him, yeah, I just threw a dwarf star, a piece of a dwarf star inside of you. It's going to burn for the next 3 years unless you take me to this alien society and let me figure out what the problem is here. So they go, and Lobo gets on his motorcycle, puts Batman on his back, and he's riding and shows him these dolphins. And they get to the society, and Lobo and Batman get there and start to punch their way through, trying to find some inspiration of why this is happening, why somebody would want Batman to be the one to go down for everything. And when they get there, they inspect the body of the president that got assassinated. Come to find out, there was this alien creature that was sucking on his heart the whole time. And you come to find the real murderer, and they shoot Lobo and Batman with this parasite that lets them see their best and most wanted dreams. Bruce gets to see a life where he has everything. He doesn't have to be Batman. He's with his lovely wife, Selena, has 2 kids, Helena and Damian, of course. And Alfred's still alive. His parents are still alive. Everything is great. Everything is as he would want it to be. But then there's an image that says, or something happens, and he's like, yeah, it's time for me to wake up. He knows that this is a dream. He knows that everything here is fake. It is what he wants. But then Bruce does inevitably wake up, rips the thing off his chest, and also rips it off of Lobo's chest. And Lobo is like, what in the world? And come to find out, the whole thing with the dwarf star that he put into Lobo was actually a lie. And Lobo actually kind of likes that idea. He was wondering why the star tasted minty. It was actually just a mint. But they arrest the dude that was actually the murderer of the president of this alien society, and Batman goes back home. But Lobo, he continues to use the parasite because he loved his dream so much, and he was flying around with those fishies, and it's exactly what Lobo would want. That was a really good story. Tom Taylor did a great job. And then the story on the back end was a very grittily, very dark story that I struggled to read through the entire time. It's essentially a Mr. Pig story, with Batman trying to find and figure out who this man is and bring him to justice. And of course, at the end, he inevitably does, with some help from some civilians. And after all that, everything was fine and dandy, and he had an art thing built after him. The backstory was all right. The main man Lobo story was really, really cool. But since the backstory was so mid, I gave this 3rd place, and it is a C+ for me. It could have been a lot better if they just stuck to the main man Lobo story, because that was really good in my opinion. Coming in at 2nd, we have Justice League Night Vision Special one-shot with Batman and Lex Luthor. A lot of Batman this week for DC. And this starts off with Batman and Lex going to this swamp where this house erupts from the bottom because they both got visions after DCKO, or they didn't have any visions, and then they both had the same one. So they figured they had to team up and do this obstacle. And when they get there, there's these guys, these drug smugglers, these gun smugglers, and they start to beat them up. But then they run into this house that erupts from the swamp. And of course, Batman and Lex know that that is a terrible idea. Don't you recognize this house? It is the house of Prometheus, I believe is what they call it, or what his name is. I kind of forgot. Anyways, they go through the entire building. They say Prometheus's origin story, how he basically is not a good guy. He travels the world fighting, learning these multiple different fighting styles, and he won't rest until he takes down whoever he considers a villain, whether it's Green Lantern, Batman, Lex, it doesn't really matter. Anyways, they continue on, and they find one of those bad guys from the very beginning that is basically incapacitated, has barely any energy left, says that you did this to us, tries to shoot them up, but Batman and Lex know that he's under some sort of spell. Anyways, they get chased by these goons, and Lex thinks about killing them. Batman stops him from doing that because he knows his rule is no killing. Or at least Batman's rule is no killing. Lex doesn't care. He does whatever he wants. But then they get thrown down this portal, kind of zaps them through. And then they end up at this spot at the bottom of the house, disorientated. Lex telling Batman that he can be such a tool. But then he throws a batarang at Lex. At least it appears to be at Lex. And he finds that this place is all electric. It's all technology. And all the weapons are used with technology. And then they come to find Prometheus, who says all this stuff about JLU, the Justice League Unlimited, how they've let these heroes and villains merge into one, and it's confusing and they shouldn't do it. Anyways, they fight. They do a really good job working well with each other. They use each other's opposite weapons to confuse Prometheus so he can't adapt to their fighting style. And he gets really confused. A change of tactics. You don't think that he can adapt. Well, Lex rips off his helmet. Come to see, he doesn't have no eyes. He looks absolutely terrifying. And then Prometheus runs after his helmet while the house gets sucked back into whatever realm that it comes from. And Batman and Lex have made it out successfully. But you don't know where this could lead. This actually is coming from apocalyptic weaponry, and Darkseid is slowly but surely making his way back into the DC continuity. And this is going to be continued in the pages of JLU. This makes me really want to get into Justice League Unlimited. Let me know down in the comments if y'all have been reading that series and if you recommend it. I read a little bit of it, but then I kind of fell off because it was just too much, and I felt like they didn't really, there wasn't enough high stakes, or I didn't care too much about the characters. But let me know what you guys think. Justice League Night Vision Special is a B for me. Now, my top pick for DC, of course, it is the annual, oh my goodness, Superman Year 1000. This was really good, written by Joshua Williamson and Eddie Burrows, does the art. And we start off with Lois and Clark talking to each other, and you come to find that this is another dream because Clark is out in the world. And he's getting all these insights into the future, the past, trying to fix the timeline with his new King Omega powers that he got at the very end of DCKO. Now, this is definitely, DCKO is very required reading in order to understand this, but it does do a very good job at summarizing essentially what happened. And DCKO shows that Superman accomplished these powers, got all these different things, and then it comes to find our man who's riding the tsunami of time, essentially trying to get back to where he's supposed to be. And he tells him that Justice League Alpha, or Justice Legion Alpha, just did not go well because of Darkseid and his Legion coming and wrecking everything. And there's this monster at the end of time that is eating the timeline, ruining everything and making everything bad. So Superman goes after him, and he ends up at the future of Apocalypse, the ruins of Metropolis, and it continues to be just a wasteland of space, of people. But he finds Lois, he finds Saturn Girl, and she tells him everything that happened to them, and she's grateful that he got them away from Apocalypse's or Darkseid's clutches, essentially, to free them. And they continue to face against Darkseid, and Superman is telling him that he has to send them back. And then the Infinite Man comes along, that man that is eating the time stream, and Superman fights him. I guess you could say to the death. I don't really know if you can consider it that, but they had this ongoing battle. Superman's claiming that it's his fight, and he gets the chains that were put onto Time Trapper because Time Trapper no longer exists if you read the end of DCKO. Anyways, Superman gets his powers and punches him in the face, claiming long live the Legion, and they are able to be saved by Superman. And then that takes us back to where Action Comics 1100 left off, with Superboy pulling Clark Kent out of the space-time continuum, whatever you want to say, and he saves Superman from falling into nothing. And we get an update on the Legion, how they've been found, and everything was going good, and then boom, a big shot comes in, and would you look at that? Brainiac is there to take back the Legion and basically put them into a bottled city and make him their own. And he was able to accomplish this because of Pandora, who is now sided with Darkseid in bringing back Darkseid and all his greatness. And also, Brainiac is getting the help, this is huge spoilers, of Cyborg Superman, who is helping him do all of these horrible things. And then the very end is the preview for Legion of Superheroes, the new series coming from Joshua Williamson and Hayden Sherman. But Cyborg Superman says, if the future hopes for a new Legion, I will be their inspiration. This was fantastic. Joshua Williamson absolutely killed this Superman annual. And for me, this was an A book, a huge issue for all of Detective Comics DC, and it was fantastic. I highly appreciated it. It was great artwork from Eddie Burrows. The story was really compelling from Joshua Williamson, and now we can fully move on to part 2 of this all-in saga. Can't wait to see how it continues, but that was a fantastic book. Let me know what you guys' top pick was for DC of the last week. Next, moving on to the independent publishers, we are kicking off with, we have 3 total. Coming in at third is Dead by Daylight, the Hillbilly. Excuse me. This is the finale to this origin series where the Hillbilly, you really do feel for this character. You learn just how awful his family and the city as a whole treated him. They all knew that he was being bossed around, beaten up, just treated absolutely poorly by his parents. And the cops were into that. They told their parents to keep him and let him be essentially their slave, let him do everything for them. And the captain was the one that really convinced the parents to keep him. The parents tried to kill him. They poured hot coffee or hot boiling water on his face, and that's why his face and skin looks like that, because they tried to kill him. And he tries not to listen to them, but he ends up just absolutely going on a complete rampage, massacring all these people. And he calls in, the captain calls in for all this help, and it's really not going well. But Darnell tries to tell Janice about this, the Hillbilly, and Janice already knew, and she says, well, something's going down, but you should have kept your mouth shut. You shouldn't have been the detective to look into all this different stuff. And now I'm gonna have to handcuff you to the wheel, and we're gonna have to find out what's gonna happen to you later on. But then she gets absolutely shot right in the temple by her captain because he thought that it was the Hillbilly character. And they continue on. Darnell escapes from the cop car, but then the Hillbilly kills the captain, runs back to the house, is trying to find out what's going on. Meanwhile, Darnell, he ends up in this unfamiliar place. The Hillbilly throws the captain into the pig pen, and they start eating all his body. And then Darnell, well, he's in the game, and he's got to try to escape the Hillbilly. A really quick and abrupt ending. That's why it's a little lower for me, but really good series here with Titan Comics, Dead by Daylight, the Hillbilly. Overall, a really fun series, especially if you're into the video game. This lets you know a bit of the origin of the Hillbilly character. And it really gets you to feel for the character because he was treated so badly. So this comes in at third place, but still was a solid B comic book for me. Coming in at second, we go over to Ghost Machine in the Unnamed Universe with Geiger. This is issue number 24, right before the iconic or the oversized 25th anniversary issue that is going to come out next month. But this kicks off where we left off with Tariq Geiger getting ambushed by all these other animatronic Joes, led by their leader, this human, who has his hand ripped off by Barney, the dog with the multiple heads. And they continue to fight with Geiger. We get a little one-on-one here with the Knight and the doctor who did all these experiments and feels like he's responsible for the start of the war that nobody knows who started it. Essentially, they track down, they're trying to find where Geiger is. They have no idea where Barney went because he ran off without them. They're just trying to find this scent, and you come to find out that this doctor, whatever his name is, the guy that is in charge of the Joes, really does not like Tariq Geiger, and he needs the original Junkyard Joe back because he was the best one. He was the one that had this emotional capability, and he's going to be the future of the world or whatever. Anyways, the lights go out, and you see these 2 red eyes poke out of nowhere, and then Junkyard Joe goes absolutely ballistic. Nathan, the Knight, is starting to go on a rampage too, killing a couple Joes, or I don't know if you can really call it killing because they're all robots, but this 2-page spread was fantastic with Junkyard Joe ripping all of his, I guess, I don't know if you can say it's partners or similar people, but he was ripping all of them apart. Geiger was able to try to get out of there, but then it leaves off on a big cliffhanger because in the 25th anniversary issue, we're going to get the showdown between President Griffin and Geiger, as Griffin is there, and he's finally come face to face with the glowing man. This was a really good issue, left off at a perfect spot. Geiger was a great issue from Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. It's not my top pick for Independence, but it is still a solid A- comic book. Instead, the top pick goes to Feral. Issue 25, the oversized anniversary issue from Tony Fleeks, Trish Forstner, and I believe another person was also the artist. Yeah, Tone Rodriguez. Anyways, this is the, I guess, meeting between the stray dogs and the feral cats. They can't understand each other. They don't speak the same language, dogs and cats, and they are kind of confused because the cats are trying to get Moosh out. The dogs think that they are trying to hurt Moosh, but Moosh escapes and then starts yelling at the dogs like, no, these are my friends. They're trying to help us get out of here. So then they get interrupted by the humans who are like, oh my gosh, how did all these people get left out of captivity? We need to put them back up. So everybody starts rushing for an exit, trying to find one. Meanwhile, some of the cats we see are dead, the ones that we saw earlier in this series arc. And some of them are in the process of getting snatched up. The fire from the furnace is getting abrupt. It's getting huge. It's getting to start to consume the entire school. All these cats are like, I don't know how to get around this. They get some help from the dogs though. And then Ghost starts to pull away some of the feral cats away. And he starts trying to just create a gap of space for all his other friends. Meanwhile, all the kids from all of Gigi's kids got took by a human, and they can't let that happen. They go chasing after the human, and the cats and dogs are starting to team up. They're going to fight back against the feral as well as the humans. But then you come to find out the guy that took all the Gigi's kids, they're the guy that was claimed to be a murderer, and they don't know whether they should trust him or not. Sophie has this flashback to this human that treated her owner very, very poorly. He was basically assaulting his wife, a domestic violence case for sure. And they take all the cats, all the dogs into their van, and they're going to take them home and make sure that nothing happens to them. But they forgot about a couple of the other animals. They forgot about Moosh. They forgot about Ghost. So Elsie goes back into the school to get Moosh, as well as Chloe and Ghost. Ghost and Moosh make it back out. They're able to get back to the van. But where is Elsie? Where is Chloe? Who knows? But the humans start to go feral. They get the rabies. What's going to happen in issue 26? I don't know. It's going to take a month off this series. Feral is going to take a month off and be back in September. But this, it gets me to really want to read issue 26. It left on a huge cliffhanger. Is Elsie dead? Is Chloe dead? How is Elsie going to get back and find Lord? Who knows? But this was a fantastic issue. Feral for me was an A comic book and is my top pick for independent comic books for the week of July 29th, 2026. So to finally decide my pick of the week, ultimately, you guys say that my pick of the week for my buy or pass video was the Patron issue 1 from Ignition Press. This was a fantastic book, but is my overall pick of the week going to be the Patron? Is it going to be Feral? Is it going to be Superman Year 1000 from DC? Or is it going to be Jessica Jones Alias Red Band issue 5? Well, it's not going to be Alias, even though that was a fantastic series, a fantastic final issue. It's not going to be the Patron. So is it going to be Feral, or is it going to be Superman Year 1000? Well, to me, the pick of the week is Feral issue 25. This just had so much heart, so much emotion, so much intensity. It left you questioning what the ending is really going to be, what the cliffhanger is going to lead for the next issue. And overall, this is just one of the best series out there in all of comics right now. Highly recommend you guys pick this up in the trades. I did that, caught back up, and now I'm on the single issues and I can't be happier. But this is my pick of the week, Feral issue 25. Let me know what your pick of the week was down below in the comments. If you made it all the way through, please hit that like button and subscribe as well, as we are on the road to 200 subscribers, nearly there. Appreciate all the love and support recently, guys. But remember, keep reading those comics panel by panel. I'll see you on Tuesday for my top 10 comics. Have a great rest of your day.